In this video, we're going to take a look at KK Arnold, her season last year in 24-25, and then what's in store potentially for 25-26. My plan is to take a deep dive on all the UConn returning players and maybe the ones that aren't returning. I'm going to see how this video goes. If you like it, let me know. Give it a like. If it gets lots of views, then I'll do more deep dive on the other UConn players. Obviously, if it doesn't get any reviews and a lot of dislikes, then I'm not going to do. I probably won't complete the series. So it's a little bit up to you and what the audience wants. But yeah, that is my plan. Going through the players one by one. I thought I would start with KK Arnold. I think she's going to be a crucial piece for UConn going into the 25-26 season. I think her development is going to be really important. I'll give you some of her on-off numbers this year and some of the things she did really well, some of the things that she needs to improve on, which I think are fairly obvious as well. The best lineup she was in without Paige Bueckers, because obviously Bueckers is not going to be there. And there's one UConn lineup that looked really good without Bueckers, but also included KK Arnold, which we will go through. But before we start, as always, if you like the content, then please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Okay, let's get into this. So a brief recap of KK's history at UConn. She came in the 2023 class. She was rated number 6, and I believe she was the second rated point guard behind Hannah Hidalgo. She was higher rated than Full Wiley. And both Shade and KK Arnold got 33 starts in the 23-24 season, obviously due to all the injuries that UConn sustained, and they got their chance to play, and they both took advantage, with KK going for 8.9 points per game, averaging 30 minutes a game. The team made it to the Final Four unexpectedly with a big win over USC. During that tournament run, she had a big shot she hit versus Syracuse when the game was tighter than expected, and she hit a big three-pointer. So she has success in bigger and better things were hoped for her going into the 24-25 season, although it was pretty clear early on, Gino made it clear that Shade and KK Arnold were going to have to do more with less. And that was due to obviously AZ Fudd returning from injury. In addition, they brought in Caitlin Chin as well, who ultimately KK wound up sharing the point guard position with. So instead of averaging 30 minutes a game, she got 21 minutes a game, and consequently, her scoring went down from 8.9 points to 5.5 points per game, which wasn't a big issue. She actually started off the season slow, which Auriemma said wasn't unexpected, as she did not have a good preseason. Her play picked up around the time they played Notre Dame. She went for 10 points, even though it was a loss for UConn. She was one of the stronger players on the court that night. And Auriemma said after the Marquette game, another game where she played well, he said she did not have a good training camp in October. She'll be the first to tell you that for whatever reason, and it kind of took on a slow start. But obviously, as the season went on, she just got better and better, and it wasn't scoring. It was just her impact in terms of changing the game. Auriemma said this himself, saying, she has the ability every single night to change the entire game when she steps on the floor, and she knows that. And that's essentially what she did. I went back and watched the South Carolina game, and her minutes were increased that game because they wanted to get more athleticism on the floor. So she actually played 24 minutes, and in the first half, she was crucial. She and Ashlyn Shade. But KK Arnold had the best plus-minus of anybody in the first half with 16. She was plus 16, and she was everywhere, just causing disruption. She was getting in Pow's face, and anybody that she was switched on, she was just everywhere. And you could tell it was just like Auriemma had envisioned, put on Shade and KK to be the spark plug, but as well that UConn could further amp up their game and have a different look with more intensity, more pressure, which KK Arnold gave them was just invaluable. And one of the key reasons why they won the championship last year, no doubt. Now, if you look at her on-off numbers in 24-25, you could argue and say, well, she was minus 2.7. But if you take a deeper dive on that, so with KK Arnold on the court, they were plus 42 which is 100 percentile. With her off, they were plus 44.8. And a lot of that is offensive rating. So UConn's offense was ridiculous. If you compare UConn in quad one games to the other top teams, they had the best offense by far. They scored 114.2 points per 100 possessions. That's 100 percentile, obviously the best. South Carolina was the second best at 106. But the other thing UConn had going for it is they could play defense as well. So their defensive rating was 85.4. That's how many points they were giving up per 100 possession. South Carolina was good as well at 86.9. But it was about the offense. They just, when you had three shooters obviously out there, they could shoot so well. But part of their defense was KK, and that's reflected in her on-off numbers if you take a look at them. Now, obviously, offense would suffer with her on the court as they would score 115 points per 100 versus 124 points when she was off the court because they didn't have as much shooting. But the defense would go up, obviously, with her on the court. So they'd only give up 73.7 points per 100 possession with her on versus 79.9 per 100 with her off the court. Same thing with effective field goal shooting percentage was lower at 38.5% with her on versus off. And of course, turnovers went up to 24.9% versus teams would end in turnover only 22% of the time when she was off the court. But overall, you can see what her impact was. Instead of instant offense, with KK Arnold, you would get instant defense, ball pressure, and just being a menace and making things happen. Now, why UConn's offense was worse with KK Arnold on the court, it's pretty clear. It was her three-point shooting. So last year, she did not shoot the three ball very well, shooting 21.3%, which is strange because the previous year, her freshman year, she was able to shoot 32% behind the arc. So why did this happen? Why did it go down? Was it because she was just getting less playing time, less confidence in her shot? Will it rebound? The good news for this last season was her mid-range was better at 41% versus 16% the year prior. She was better in the key at 60% versus 47%, and at the rim she shot 58 this year, 58% versus 54% in her freshman year. So the real question is, the hope is that she can regain her three-point shot, which would allow UConn to space the court better. If she can't regain her three-point shot, then I think she still can be an effective player with her defense and slashing to the basket, but it will depend on who they put out with her. If she continues to struggle with her shooting, it's hard to envision them putting her out with Ice Brady, who struggled with shooting last year, and Jana El Alfie, that really doesn't shoot outside as well. But there are other lineups they can use, like an interesting one when Paige Bueckers was on the bench and Caitlin Shade was out of the lineup was KK Arnold, Ashlyn Shade, Fudd, Chelly, and Sarah Strong. In 18 minutes, that lineup was plus 28, and prorated over 100 possessions, it was plus 97.5. They played really good defense. Again, this is a small sample. I acknowledge it's only 18 minutes, but I do think if Chelly is healthy, this lineup will be given a go next season, because the defense was really good as well. They only gave up 34.8 points if prorated over 100 possessions, which is really strong. And they really caused turnovers at 35%. The opponent's possession ended in turnover, which is really good as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I think hopefully KK, with the more minutes, her shot will return and she shoots over 30% from three, and if that happens, then she's ultimately the perfect point guard for UConn, as she can put the defensive ball pressure that they like doing. In addition, she'll be able to space the floor and push the ball in transition. Now, I guess I'll finish with this. I did a poll saying, who is KK comparable to in terms of former UConn point guard? So I put out there Crystal Dangerfield, Avina Westbrook, Mariah Jefferson, or other. And then it was interesting. I got a lot of comments about Renee Montgomery, and to be honest, my UConn history isn't that good. So then I looked up their Final Four, or watched their Final Four. I did a deep dive and have watched like the first half of the Final Four of them versus Stanford, and I see the comp. I know, I can tell what people are talking about as well. I watched some of her highlights, and I get it. I guess when I watch her, I see Dangerfield, but I know her game is not like Dangerfield's. Dangerfield was more of a scorer and things like that, and Dangerfield's shot was better. So I guess I'll go with Renee Montgomery. But I did do that post, so have your say on that. Does KK Arnold remind you of Renee Montgomery, or what other point guard of past does she remind you of, and what do you see for her in 25, 26? Do you see her shot bouncing back from 3-point range and getting over 30% and being the point guard that UConn needs, like the perfect fit for the UConn point guard moving forward, and taking that starter role and moving forward with it? Anyway, I'll leave it for you, for your comments, your poison as well. Let me know if you like this video or it's just too long and in depth and not. So all your comments and feedback are warranted. I guess the views will let me know as well. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.